Hey, listen, guys, before we get started on today's episode, I got to tell you, you need to get in the description of this show and sign up for the Patreon. Why? It connects you directly to the Discord where you can contact and chat with me every day, as well as almost every past guest of this show. And together we all work in a awesome symbiotic way to grow our inventing progress, whether that be working on videos together or engineering together, talking with a patent attorney, talking with a fulfillment expert. So if you're ready to take your invention to the next level, if you're ready to turn your invention into a 7-figure business and beyond, I'm going to tell you right now, the very first step is a $6 a month Patreon, and you can find that in the description below. All right, guys, let's get started. Hello, guys, and welcome to the Invent With Me podcast, where each week we guide aspiring inventors and product creators to turn their innovative ideas into reality, learn valuable tips, insights, and success stories from people roughing it in the field of inventing, so you yourself can make your mark in the world. I'm your host, Grant, inventor of Torque Strap, a killer new spring-loaded cargo strap, a strap so easy to use, you just pull. And with me in the studio today, very special guest, my new friend Jordan, the inventor of the Cyclone Filter Cleaner, the hassle-free way to deep clean your pool filters without straining your back. That's awesome, man. How you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, man. Well, look, thanks so much for stopping in to do this with me. Really excited today because you're a seasoned inventor. Of course, we're always trying to grow and we're trying to reach that next step. Maybe we're trying to go from 7 figures to 8 figures. But regardless, you've got years of experience in this realm. So to start, can you tell me what the filter cleaner is, the logic behind it, and how it all happened?
Sure, yeah. So the Cyclone Filter Cleaner is a tool that makes it so much easier to clean swimming pool cartridge filters. And these filters are really common, becoming more and more common on swimming pools because they use less water. They filter really well, and they're being put in, actually mandated in a lot of swimming pools in certain areas, because the other filter types, they either use too much water or the wastewater is like a pollutant to the waterways. So it's a better filter, and the only real downside is the maintenance on it. They're really a pain to clean. And so up until, so I was a pool service technician and I cleaned them all the time. And I was like, man, this is not, there's got to be a actual better way to do this. It just took so long to clean these things.
Amazing. Now, was this a family endeavor or your idea, or how did this get thought of, and how did that happen?
Yeah, so it was originally just kind of the aha moments were me out in the field cleaning these filters with that. It was taking way too long, hurting my back.
Would you just use a garden hose and spray them down and kind of work them that way? And for everybody listening, this is a cylindrical filter, right? It looks like it's about 2.5 feet tall, almost maybe 8 inches in diameter. Okay,
correct.
So yeah, so that was the only way to clean them, right?
Yeah, just a regular garden hose. And there's it's a pleated material. I have like a really small version of one I can show on video.
Yeah.
But they're these little pleats. They're really tedious to get in between because all the debris from your swimming pool gets caught inside of there. And if you're OCD at all, if you're really trying to be mindful about getting it really clean, you're trying to open up each one of these and flush it out. And it was taking me, about an hour to clean 4 of these.
Wow.
And this is obviously they're pretty large.
Yeah.
And there's 4 inside a filter. So it's taking me so long to do. And I said, this would be great if the filter could spin while it's cleaning. And that way I could just hold a stream of water stationary in one place and let the filter turn. And I just go from top to bottom until it's clean. And so that was like my mission. Like, how do we get a filter to be supported and freestanding and spin just from water pressure. And that was the challenge to figure that out. And I brought my dad in. I just was going to him like, what do you think about this idea? And he's like, man, sounds really great. So we kind of started trying to crack this code together. And so yeah, my dad and I, we pretty much from the beginning have been working on this and figuring it out together.
Talk to me about like the rabbit holes that you go down in the beginning, because you're brand new, complete virgin in this space, as I was, and you just Google, I have an invention idea. What happens to the average inventor, and what happened to you?
Well, I always start with like making sketches, sketching it out. What do you think it should possibly look like? I thought if I'm going to turn it, maybe there's a motor. Maybe you got to set it on something that's motorized. And I didn't like that idea. I didn't want to have to do that, because you don't want to have to mix electricity with water.
No.
And include a motor. It sounds expensive, sounds heavy. It sounds like something I have known nothing about. And so I did kind of I didn't try to go down those paths very much. It's like, if I didn't know very much about it, it's like, maybe there's a different way. Maybe there's a simpler way. And in the end, so we've had many, just backing up to where we are now, we've had many iterations, and it always gets simpler. The design, it always simple ends up being the best.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of a good guiding, principle, is like, how can I simplify what I'm envisioning? Because usually it starts out very complex. And, and it did. So like one of our first versions that actually did work, it weighed 20 pounds. We had to weld a bunch of, like a cage together that a filter would go into, and there were like supports all around it, and it did allow it to spin, but it was so heavy, and I thought that was a really good idea. I thought people would buy this,
right,
and they would carry this thing around, but it needed to be simplified. So that's what ended up happening. But another thing that was a distraction was the first, I guess you'd say, minimum viable product that I came up with. I had a rod that I stuck the filter over, and I had I had a plate that it rested on with a ball bearing underneath.
Okay. And
I started spraying it with water, and it took off. It started spinning so fast, and I got all soaked.
Oh.
It started slinging water, and it soaked me. And I thought, wow, that's bad. That like, it works. I was kind of excited at the same time, like, whoa, I can't believe that really worked, but I'm all wet. And so now I start designing in my mind like a shroud. Okay, I need to contain the water with a shroud.
Yeah.
And that was in my head for a long time, like maybe a year.
You kind of made up an imaginary problem to an imaginary solution, where there was something much simpler, probably, right?
Yeah. And all I really, if I would have done more testing on that, just slowing it down, the speed, it eliminated that problem. It was an imaginary problem.
Yeah.
And it ended up kind of taking me on this path that I didn't need to go down. And because it kind of came back to where it is now, it is a rod, and there is a ball bearing down there. And so I wasn't that far off.
Uh-huh. How do you temper the speed to where it doesn't fly everywhere now? Or is it just a matter of how you aim the water stream?
Yeah, mostly. I think maybe it is more controlled now. Like the parts, they fit appropriately, the top and the bottom, and then when you hit it, it doesn't just take off on you like it did in my first tests. But it is all fully in your control. It's very easy, and it's just a matter of where you aim the water. And we do recommend, and we have to tell people, hey, spin it slowly, because that's where the water is actually going to reach the back of that filter pleat.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you aim to the side, it will start picking up speed,
Yeah.
but your water is not penetrating into the filter. It's
Correct.
just getting the outside, and it starts wobbling. It starts slinging water.
Right.
And so we just got to, that's fully and easily in the user's control. And so that's how we do it.
So for reference, everybody, this can be compared to like when your dad let you play with the air compressor and you pointed it into the fan, right? Depending on what angle and what pressure you pointed that airstream into the blades is how fast that fan would turn. Or if you're cleaning the fan in your air conditioner compressor outside, and his product operates in kind of the same way. Now, I want to go back to something you mentioned. You prototyped, you built samples, you tested, and you got in your head about this imaginary problem, as we just named it. And the funny thing is, when we inventors invent, we get into analysis paralysis because we're so worried about upsetting customers or worse, getting sued. And I can empathize. In the beginning, I thought, oh my God, a cargo strap. What if I drop someone's Harley and this, that, and the other? But what inventors have to remember is hammers were invented at one time. You could never invent the hammer in this day and age. You could never introduce this as a new concept, because when you're testing it, you're going to smash your damn thumb and you're going to say, oh, screw that. I'm going to get sued into the Stone Age. However, you have to remember that customers assume a lot of responsibility when they take your products in. They paid good money for it. They're going to be conscious of the pitfalls, the idiosyncrasies of the product, and it's on them to figure it out. And yeah, there's always a 1% of people who can't figure it out and just take the return and move on. But put faith in your customer that they will figure out your product, and they're not going to soak themselves, and they're not going to jump off a bridge because you didn't write the instructions absolutely perfectly. So thank you for bringing that up, Jordan.
Yeah, no, you definitely get in your head about things like that. And like one early version, we actually staked it into the grass was an option for people who had grass. But it was this aluminum pole with a spike on the end. That was a little
scary, right?
Yeah, a little scary there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's people know what it's used for, and there's spikes sold as tent pins, or it's other kind of spikes on the market for a variety of things, umbrella sleeves and things. And so you don't need to overthink it too much. I think I agree with that.
Yeah, and then you got your product liability insurance. So at the end of the day, it all falls on that. Luckily, knock on wood, I've not run into any issues with that. But look, I want to go back to those early days. So you mentioned, you get this idea, kind of start sketching it out, and you kind of jump to putting together prototypes. But how did you even get to prototype? Did you bring on a professional engineer to help you kind of close the gap between drawings and physical? How did that work?
Well, I had a little bit of luck, I guess you could say, with really early on. I had this idea that I wanted to do, and I had this sketch where I had these two like conical pieces for the top and bottom so that they could center the cylinder. And I was like looking online, where can I find something like this? I couldn't find anything that I could just purchase. And like I said, I clean swimming pools for a living. And I had a client that I just gotten, and I was helping him to winterize his pool, asking him what he does for work. And he says he's a machinist.
Nice.
And he's like, yeah, if you need any machine work done, just let me know or something. I was like, well, as a matter of fact, I do have something I would like to have made. And he was such a great guy. And was like a week later, just like on a napkin sketch, he had brought me back some machined parts that he made out of, I think it was Delrin material. He put it on a lathe and was able to bring me exactly what I had envisioned.
Wow.
And yeah, just a really great guy. He helped me for just on and off for a couple years, and sadly he passed away during COVID. But
Oh man.
I really, I owe a lot to him and others on the way. But I took then that design, those pieces. Now I had something real, and it was getting really close to a better working product. And I sent that off to another mentor in the pool industry that I trusted his opinion on. And he said, this seems really good. It's just very expensive. If you're going to machine these out of plastic on a lathe, that's very, very expensive. He said, how about you try 3D printing? And that really changed everything for me. Just when he told me to try 3D printing, because then I had his son was actually about 12 years old. He's a real whiz, and he knows 3D printing. And he sent me a couple of samples. He's like, I can do it. He printed it up, sent it to me, and like, wow, these really do work. And we went back and forth a couple of times before I really realized I need like 100 more changes to this.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to do that, I need to do it myself. And then I learned some of that 3D design. Fortunately, the parts that I needed to make, they weren't super complex.
Sure.
And I was able to teach myself. It really wasn't that hard. It seems like a really intimidating process to learn some of the software and the hardware of a 3D printer. But it's not that hard. And I ended up with next thing you know, I have 5 3D printers in my office, printing like all nonstop, just iterating on. And then it was a little bit of just a trial and error process from there of printing something and testing it, printing it and testing it, and getting it refined better and better. And finally got to a point where I thought that it wasn't changing much anymore. I wasn't making a lot of changes. And I felt good about actually selling my first product.
Oh, awesome. So to fast forward, you're still kind of making them the same way, right? 3D printing components as well as some aluminum components. Is that right?
So no, we sold, I think, around 75 or 100 of our 3D printed versions before we got to injection mold the plastic.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, so they're pretty, really high quality, strong components now. And but I do think there's still some people 3 years later that are still using some of those 3D printed versions. And that's a testament to it is, it's kind of looked down on, as inferior, but it's pretty dang strong, some of those parts, and they do hold up.
That is impressive. So what all is your product made of now? Because at a glance, I always saw it with a filter on it, but at a glance, it's kind of like a tripod, an aluminum rod going up, obviously with some kind of bearing. Am I missing something? Is it that kind of mix of materials? Yes.
Yeah. We designed our own tripod stand that was something that we can actually make ourselves, because it doesn't use like hinges on as you would normally see on a tripod, the way they would hinge out and support the legs. It's our own unique design for the tripod, and it's just aluminum legs that go into the stand. All the plastic material, it's a PC ABS blend. ABS is really strong, but I guess putting that like polycarbonate blend into it makes it even stronger. And so you can like stand on the legs, bounce, and these parts, they won't crack. You can drop them, and they're very, very strong. So yeah, it's just that stand, and then there's a retainer that has a stainless steel ball bearing embedded into it that rests on the stand, and that's where it's able to spin freely. And yeah, you just put another retainer on the top of the filter that centers it and allows it to spin really well. And then the other component is our spray wand that is also super durable. I was just doing some drop testing with it yesterday that I've not been very good at. All through the time I make my parts and I kind of care about them.
Yeah.
And, I'm trying to make it work.
Yeah.
And I needed to, at some point, you need to try to make it not work. You need to try to break it. And I've always been bad about that. In fact, the first time I had sold this to somebody, I wanted to FaceTime them to walk them through how to use it. And he had these 3D printed parts, set it up. And first thing he puts the filter on, and he kind of drops the filter onto it, which I never did in my testing. I'm carefully putting the filter on. He drops it. It's the 3D printed part just shatters. It just explodes.
Oh,
really good. And it's like, okay, that was a bad first test there. And let me send you some more parts. I'm gonna make them stronger. But that could have been avoided if I had done the drop testing, if I had tried to put it through everything more. You got to do that. And it's just a psychological thing. I don't want to break my stuff, but you need to, because other people are going to.
Yeah.
And now the spray wand that we have, you can drop it and it won't shatter, won't break. And it's designed to really reach into the pleat and open it up. It's just a design. It's designed in a way that there's nothing else on the market that just hooks up to a hose and has that spray pattern that we were looking for. Right. So we had to make it ourselves.
And I'm assuming the most complicated part of that was it all sounds kind of complicated. You have to have an adapter for a hose. You have to have a nozzle that will direct the water. So again, was this completely engineered by you, 3D printed, and then later turned into metal? Or that sounds daunting. How did you get through that?
Yeah, it usually does start out as a 3D printed version, and we just kind of make it work. And then the person that I have that does the molding, he's really good at refining the designs and then kind of bringing them in. He knows what can be done molding wise. Sometimes I'll design it in a way that can't be molded.
Sure.
I'll put undercuts where they can't be and such. But I've tried to kind of learn, what the limitations are since then. But I'll just 3D print the version, and then it gets refined from there. That's kind of the process we go over and over again. And this is I'll just show the wand.
Yeah.
But there is a fitting there. It goes on the inside of the pipe.
Okay. Most
PVC fittings, they go on the outside, but ours goes on the inside, so it looks really sleek.
Yeah.
There, but before you get to the spray nozzle.
And then the other end is just 3/4 inch hose threads. Awesome.
Yeah.
With a shutoff valve. Okay,
yeah,
perfect.
Yeah. But we have since had to remake this part as well.
Oh.
Because it has a swivel in it, and that is a weak point.
Oh.
It was breaking apart when you put high pressure on it. And so now we make our own part where it's all one piece to hook a hose up to. And we couldn't find that these parts available commercially. Otherwise, we would have just sourced them and purchased them. But when you can't find it, you just got to make it.
Now, a lot of this is injection molded. That's done in the USA as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you go about finding a mold or a plastic injection molding facility that would entertain a small company who's proposing making 25 units? How did that happen?
You know, we're just very thankful to, the who we were able to get in contact with. There was another, it was mainly just asking around, and
Yeah.
who do I know who's done something like this, and where did they find it? And there was another person in the pool industry who was making it looked like a PVC fitting to me. And I said, well, he's got injection molding. I need to reach out and ask him. And so he shared with me who he was using to get it made. And it was a guy who does some small scale injection molding. He used to be like a university professor. He would teach, CAD drawing and teach engineering type of things on the university level. And now he does some small scale injection molding. And so they do exist here in the U.S. and was able to get some reasonable prices.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Now, about how many units a day or week do you move at this point?
It is a little bit seasonal, so we do more in the summertime, right before pool season starts. But yeah, we do as many as 100 a week.
Okay, that's great, and it's a high dollar item, so you're generating quite a bit of revenue.
Yeah, we're very pleased. How we've been able to come in about three years.
Now, moving 100 a week, if you were to start moving 300 a week. I'm sorry, you're currently moving 100 a week. If you were to start moving 300 a week, would your manufacturing be able to keep up with that? Would there be a weak link that you're kind of worried about low key? What do you think?
Yeah, I think until we do it, there is some, wonder if we can keep up. And it's not necessarily making it, but I'm always worried about running out of something, running out of one component that I just missed, I just forgot about. And so if the demand was to really increase and things move fast, it gets hectic and you can forget things. So I'm always trying to work on systems, and that's one of the hats that you have to wear, but maybe not my biggest strong suit either, is like keeping track of the inventory.
Yeah.
So, I do. I think that until we do it, you can always say like, oh yeah, we could handle however many a month. But you need to order. You need to really have a lot of foresight to do that. And I'm not. We haven't been there yet, so I am a little bit concerned about that.
Yeah, just to share a personal experience, and I don't feel quite that every product is different, every business is different, and especially because yours is a more high dollar product. But for me, I'm selling $20 straps, right? I used to get the components sent to me from China, and they would land in my garage and then later in my third-party warehouse where we would assemble them one at a time. And there was 4 components: the strap, which was pre-sewn, the heat shrinks, the spring, and the red sleeve to cover the spring for safety. And it never failed that when I would have a video go viral that week, Martha, my manager, she doesn't work for me. I contract with her. She would text me and say, "You're down to 200 heat shrinks." I'm like, oh my God, and every strap takes 2. So it's like you could basically build 100 more straps and you are out of inventory. Wow. And 100% fault of my own, putting a little bit too much faith that she would give me a better warning than, hey, you're going to run out in 2 days. So yeah, that was really, I can empathize with you there, Jordan, because that was so hard to keep track of, wrap my head around at the same time of trying to run good ads, trying to make viral videos, trying to build new products. And eventually I had to just give all that responsibility to one manufacturer in China. We would all love it to be in the USA, but for straps, that does not exist. Now, again, we have very different products. The facilities, the infrastructure does seem to exist for your product. It's just you do have to eventually have enough leverage to where you can hand the whole responsibility to a manufacturer, so you can focus on working on the business and not in the business, mainly being inventory management.
Right. A lot of moving parts. I don't know the exact number offhand, but it's I don't know, 20, maybe close to 20 parts.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we've always been concerned about quality control. Our goal is always a 5-star review. We really hate it when something shows up and it's not quite right, because it always is our fault, because we're the ones who do make it. So we always make it right, send a new part out right away, and that is under our control right now. So it's hard to give that up, the quality control. But I know it can be done. It's not like it's not rocket science,
right?
But you want to make everything right and have it. And if you're the one in control, then you can kind of ensure that that's the case, you know.
Well, I'll share this with you, something I learned on this journey of the podcast and running my own business. I would rather have a 4.5-star product than a 5-star product. Do you know why?
Is it more believable, or?
No, you make a lot more money with a 4.5-star product.
Okay.
And the reason is, if you have a 5-star product, you're probably putting too much money, time, and tender love and care into your quality. And you can only get 5 stars. You may be building it way too good for the price range you're in, for the customers you're serving. There's no such thing as extra credit. It's 5 stars and that's it. So when I see a 5.0 star product flat, I think they're not making any money. And I know, because I've been a 5-star product making no money. I switched to Chinese manufacturer. Guess what? Now I'm a 4.8 star product and I make way more money. Just by that sacrifice. That's, people always cling on to that thing that they hold dear, be it their quality, their IP, what have you. But holding on to something like that will make you completely miss the plot and lose sight of the big picture. We're here to make money. We're here to move volume. So I caution you about having a 5-star product. That sounds crazy to some people listening right now, because yes, we all want it. It's an ultimate ego boost. However, you can serve a lot more customers and have a lot more very happy customers rather than a small amount of blown away customers.
Well, yeah, I'm going to think about that. I think that impacts a lot of decision making and a lot of things, like, you know, where we're at, because, like, you know, it is a 5-star product. Yeah. We get a lot of good, almost exclusively very positive reviews and very, very few returns. And it's like you want to keep it that way.
Yeah.
But yeah, but also, well, what else do you want? Oh yeah, you want to grow.
You want to grow.
And so yeah, a lot of decisions. You know, where else is there another version of this product that could be a lot of lower price? Those are things we're definitely thinking about right now.
Well, it's stuff, yeah, we always have to be thinking about. But look, let's change the subject. You are doing well. You do have a good product. You're able to sell it at a high price. So talk to me about how you ensure sales every day. What is your main marketing strategy?
The channel we are on is Shopify exclusively, and the main way we get the sales is Facebook ads and also Google ads. So we have both, like a Performance Max campaign and through Google. So those ads, and then I do try, you know, I don't have a very good schedule with my organic like posting, but you know, whenever I can clean a filter myself, I always try to showcase, you know, how easy it is to do that, how quick it is. And a lot of times that's too good. Like it looks like it's unbelievable. You know, a lot of people are very scrupulous when they see this filter being cleaned so quickly. And it's like, there's no way. They think you rolled it in a bunch of dirt. You faked it somehow. That's AI, whatever. And so, but it's probably a good thing. You know, you want a little bit of.
You got to agitate.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only way. Now, do you run your Meta and Google ads yourself?
Yes, I do.
Okay, now it's time for you to start schooling me. How did that go, and how much of your time does it take? Because I'm paying $3,000 a month for someone to run mine, and man, that's starting to hurt. At first, you look at every expense like, oh, it's an investment, it's an investment, it's an investment. But at the end of the year, your tax guy or gal says, here's your profit and loss sheet. Congratulations, you made 10 grand. And you're like, gosh, if I had that $3,000 a month for 12 months, that would look a lot better. So, again, how did you learn to run these ads profitably?
Well, at first it was just like learn how to set up an account, learn how to get a video on there, and that was learn how to get the pixel so that it fires when I make a sale and I'm tracking.
Right.
Like that was a hurdle for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a super technical person, so I got that set up and I let that run for like 6 months. I just had some video on there. It wasn't great, but I wasn't losing money. So that was good. And then when it came to, pool cleaning season this past March, I just like, well, let's revisit these Facebook ads. Let me put a little more money in and see what happens. And I took a video that was 7 seconds long of a filter being cleaned really fast. And then it's like 4 seconds of fast and 4 seconds of slow mo where it's up close. And that video is like overnight my sales went from like 4 a day to 12 a day.
Wow.
Just from awesome. That. And I think it was a lot to do with the video, just the product itself. And I mean, there was no talking on the video and there were no subtitles or anything said. It's just showing it. And so it's kind of the virality of that. It was like, organic content, I think.
Yeah.
In an ad, something that the algorithm, is, hey, this is quality. People like to see this. And then I went with the quick 7 seconds, 8 seconds, because then it gets watched. And if it's intriguing enough, they're going to watch it again and maybe again. And that was good. And so I think that brought the CPM down a lot. It's like people don't mind watching this video and it's an ad. So they kind of reward you for that. And so I think that a lot of it I have to owe to just the fact that people like to see this product in action. It's kind of entertaining just in itself. And I had a few videos go viral over the summer as well, where I didn't do any talking or anything. I had a timer going that went up to like 30 seconds and I'm cleaning a filter in 30 seconds. And I got, I think, around 3 million views on that.
Wow.
And so a lot of people think I got to talk, I got to say something. And that's obviously not the case with certain videos. So it's not super helpful to say that, but that it's just the product or the nature of the product is very, intriguing to watch. But I have to say, I think that's a lot of it because I'm not any kind of expert with the Facebook ads, but I did very little targeting. You just kind of I put it on broad and let the algorithm itself figure out who's going to want to see this.
Right.
And I didn't really mess with it too much. You just kind of set a budget and give it a little bit of time to to find customers,
Right.
and didn't mess with it very much.
That's interesting. So basically, you put a lot of trust in their automated targeting type of systems, and it seems to work for you. Do you happen to know what your ROAS is on average with that?
I think over time, I think it's around 4.5.
Holy cow!
Yeah.
That's really good. I mean, that tells me you do have a really good product, and it is very appealing to the eye. Those videos you're talking about, they're cheap to get in front of people. They have a very low cost per click, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you consciously do any efforts to retarget someone, or is that all kind of done automatically? For example, if I watch that 7-second ad, but I don't act on it, do you know if there's a specific effort to make me see that ad again tomorrow, or a new ad that might pique my interest a little bit more?
Yeah, what I have different mentors as well. The people that seem to know more than me, and they've just told me to don't really worry with retargeting very much. Let Facebook do it.
Right.
And they seem to know who. They have so many data points on every single person, and they know who might be interested in this. But you can make other types of videos, maybe different lengths of videos, maybe a 30-second one, and maybe a minute long video that goes into more details. And I think I have maybe 4 different ad sets, and one of them has some infographics. That's really no video, but there's just infographics that break down different features of the product. And when I put that in, that seemed to be very helpful. And then it looks like those are being shown to people more often
As like a retarget, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they see it's good to have one that is just, people have never seen something like this before in their life. And it's like that 7-8 second video is really good for that. And then if they kind of showed interest, it seems like they get shown these other more give them more details, give them more with different videos. And you got the infographics that break down some of the features, and those get shown, more frequently. There's that frequency is a parameter inside the Facebook ads. If you look at frequency, if you have a number like 1.13, that means it's been shown on average to every person 1.13 times. So the lower that number is, if it's like 1.03, then that's only being shown one time to people. But if that number is like 2.15, then that means it's been shown on average to every single person 2.15 times. They've seen it twice. And so the frequency is an important factor. And that's telling you, hey, this is retargeting people. And so you want a mix of, something a really low frequency video that is getting these people, brand new people. And then you also want these other, higher frequency that, hey, these are retargeting. And that's just from somebody who's learning. Just, I'm definitely I'm a beginner myself, but if you get good information, just because I'm a beginner, I think maybe I've been given some good information there to just let Facebook do. So many people, they try to tinker all the time, try to retarget.
Yeah.
And they're constantly doing things.
Yeah.
And the approach that I've been instructed to take is let Facebook do the targeting and don't tinker with things so much. That's like, it seems to be working for me.
Awesome. Awesome, man. I want to switch gears real quick to a subject that's not so sexy, but I do want to be sure to address it for our diehard listeners, and that is fulfillment. A lot of people hear, yeah, I got this product and now people get it every day, but there's a big gap in the middle. How do we warehouse, store, and fulfill this? So walk me through your method to get the product in people's hands.
So we've always done it ourselves, actually, and continue to right now. And I have, it's at my in-laws' house. They have a pretty good size built. Well, we converted a carport that they had. It's a really tall carport where you could normally drive like an RV into.
Sure.
And then we moved the carport and we poured concrete. We moved the carport back and then we enclosed the carport. So now we have a really nice metal building that we can have a lot of storage in there. And we set up UPS pickups 5 days a week, and we fulfill. We'll print out labels 5 days a week, and we just do it straight out of there ourselves. And I don't know for how long, or to what scale that will become difficult for us. Right now, it's manageable, but we do it all ourselves.
That's great. So you're about $1 million a year company, still able to fulfill out of the garage, right? Or out of the carport in this case.
Yeah. It is pretty much a garage now, but yeah, it's a nice. We were able to do it.
That's awesome, man. Well, I think that's good for people to hear, and I want to point out something kind of interesting. You took a very hands-on approach to running your business, and candidly, you and I had a discovery call where you shared you're able to pay yourself a fair salary, right?
Yeah. This is all I do right now, and it's it enables me to like really focus on it, where I don't have to do something else currently. I'm super thankful for that, and able to try to wear all the hats, and I'm able to pay myself.
That's awesome, because I'm in a different position now. I know I was talking smack about 5-star product versus 4-star and blah blah blah, but hey, I have my weaknesses too, and my pitfall is I've designed and systemized and automated so much it does cost money. So unless I'm selling, literally, like my break even is probably like, well, $2,500 a day in sales is probably our break even as a company. But for me to be able to pay myself, we have to be doing like $5,000 plus a day in sales. My 2 employees, they always get paid. The warehouse manager always gets paid. My Facebook ads guy always gets paid. My Amazon manager always gets paid. Grant doesn't always get paid. That's sucked. That sucked ass, especially when you're married and your wife is counting on you to bring in money. But it is a long game, and it is a scalable game. These same people that I pay a fair salary to, it seems like a lot now as like a $1.5 million a year company in gross revenue. But the same people can handle $12 million a year. And that's when it's like vacations on the beach, the business running itself. So short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, I hate to scare people away with my story, which is, well, F that. You've been doing this 4 years. You're not getting a paycheck. Take it from Jordan. You can work a little harder in the interim, and you can pay yourself what you need to sustain a very comfortable life, right?
Yeah, I think you can.
And I think you can probably do both, because, Jordan, you're thinking about it every day. And I think, if anything, I made the significant mistake here, which was over systemizing and over counting on the bigger picture and not focusing on income in the short term.
Yeah, maybe somewhere in the middle, where maybe you have slightly more hands-on, but you know what? You'll be set up when you do get to those higher volumes, and I'll have to catch up. I don't even. It's my dad. He doesn't take a salary yet, so he needs to, but he's not as day to day involved. But I there's other employees that I'll have to hire as we scale, and I'm not set up in that way. The fulfillment part, I'm doing that now. I hear a lot of people say you should allocate maybe 15% of your top line, maybe for potential fulfillment. So, that will have to at some point come out of the whole pie. So I got a lot to learn in that regard, because we really do a whole lot of it ourselves.
Well, then this has been good for both of us. One learning to scale up, one learning to scale back a little bit. I think that's a great balance. The last thing I want to bring up, because again, in our discovery call, I think you mentioned that you ran into this hole in the grass that a lot of people trip over. Did you fall into the whole just license your idea type of realm in the very beginning when you didn't know much? Talk to me about that.
Yeah, it was definitely something I was considering about, something I was hearing that as an avenue that I could go down. And so really, it was like one of those forks in the road where it was trying to figure that out, because I had a really good prototype. I had a viable product, and I had like 100 of them, and I had a bunch of people that I knew I could sell it to, a lot of pool professionals like me who were dealing with the problem. They would want it, they could buy it. And so I guess at that time I was thinking, when I was still thinking about possibly licensing it, I decided to just start selling them, and then kind of just didn't look back, I suppose, because we started getting some sales. But I thought about that. Maybe there's a company that just wants to buy the technology, but I guess it was a matter of not knowing who might be interested in that, and then also having customers and having a product. Well, let's just start selling them, start making them. And we went down that road, and then started making the product better, and we really kind of enjoyed it along the way, I think, is the thing. My dad and I both, we enjoyed the creative process that just kind of never ends. We're always making something better or coming up with another application. And we like the challenge, and then the manufacturing challenges. You got to do a lot of inventing on that side for how are you going to put these things together? Do you need to make a jig for that? That's an invention. So that's kind of kept us content to stay in that venturing realm, and the challenges are just something to figure out and work through. I guess we're just kind of cut out for that side of it. But I know you can, license products, but we just didn't see that path as clearly.
Well, I'm glad you didn't. I mean, personally, I have yet to run into even a licensing story at all, let alone a lucrative one. And you can probably tell by now, Jordan, that you've been doing this for a couple of years. You know what it takes to do $1 million in revenue a year. And my guess is still no one has come to you like, hey, can we license that? Is that a fair assumption?
Correct. Yeah. No one said they wanted to just license it.
And you're running crazy good ads. This is getting in front of hundreds of thousands of people a month, selling to hundreds and hundreds of customers a month. And if there really was licensing deals out there, if there was companies hungry for new products, they would have hit up the Cyclone pool filter cleaner. They would have found you. So that tells me, and based on my own experience too, having done many millions of dollars of sales of torque straps, I've had one company approach me with a licensing deal, and it was garbage, man. It was like, we'll pay you 2.5% of the MSRP price, but we want to knock it down to a $24.99 set of straps instead of $39. And we're going to start with 500 units. I had to clean out my ears. I'm like, 500 units? You're a big company. 500 units? They were proposing that I, as the owner, would make $350 after they finally moved through those 500 units. I was like, dude, we're selling $4,000 a day. It was a complete waste of time. It was a complete bunch of hogwash. And so all the time I'm in the Invent feed on Reddit, and that's everyone's question. How do I license it? How do I leverage a good licensing deal? Blah, blah, blah. First of all, I don't think they exist. I think they're like Bigfoot. Everybody's got a story, but nobody's got a body. And second of all, negotiating a good licensing deal, what are you negotiating off of? Negotiating is when two people want something and you pit one against the other. You're lucky to, after 500 calls, find one person to entertain you. And how do you leverage that? How do you negotiate? They could be offering you $3 and a purple carrot, and you got to take it.
Right. I guess, you're in a position where you have something that you are comparing it to. I guess if you have nothing and you're comparing a deal to nothing, then maybe that's a scenario where you would want to license it.
Yeah,
if you just have a minimum viable product or something, and you're just wanting to, if you got a lot of ideas and you're just wanting to license them out, maybe that's the scenario there. If you're able to find those people, like you said, you got to find them.
Well, that's where I get really concerned with people's time. Like, okay, your goal is to just be an idea guy and to spend 5 hours a day on the phone cold calling people in the hopes of making a couple $100 a year. Man, if you spent that time listening to the show and just taking the right steps, you could have a 7-figure business in 3 years, like Jordan and I have. And we're your average guys. Yeah,
I know. I think I'm an idea guy. I have a list of things that seem like good ideas, but I think you got to triple down on one good idea.
Well said.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, cool, man. Look, man, I'm gonna start to wrap up the show. I really appreciate you being so candid with me, sharing your story with me and the listeners. I want to also invite you into the Discord. Anybody listening, if you want to get in on the Discord, you just sign up on our Patreon. It's $6 a month. I'll message you personally. I'll set you up on Discord, and instantly you'll have access to almost every past guest of the show, as well as other aspiring inventors. And now, Jordan, if you will, I'd love to have you in there too to help me help them. And also, you get to help yourself, bounce off of the engineers in there, the lawyers in there. Like, we got it all, man. So that would be great. Yeah, that'd be an honor to have you in there. All right, man. Well, thanks again, Jordan. I think what I'll have you do is hang up now, and I will wrap up the show, buddy.
All right. Thanks you so much.
All right. See you, Jordan. All right, guys, there you have it. That was episode, I don't even know what, of the Invent With Me podcast. Hey, guys, if you're listening, be sure to follow the show on whatever platform you may be on. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe. Jump down in the description, get signed up on the Patreon, and get connected to the Discord where you can chat with me and other past guests. And let's all participate in this awesome world of inventing together. Thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you on the next one.